And I should just say, ladies and gentlemen, Erin is in the building.
Hello, friends. Hey, Fran.
Hey, Frank.
I actually have to tell you, I actually borrowed that from a woman I used to work with. Every day she came into work and she would go, "Hey, Fran," and it just was such a fun start to the day. I thought, "Oh, I'm gonna totally borrow that." And I haven't talked to her in a long time. And the other day she texted me out of nowhere, and I thought, "Do I tell her that I'm doing that or
That you
no?"
stole it.
Yeah.
I borrowed it. I'm stealing it. It's pretty cute though. My daughter says it. Hey, Fran, like Fran.
Yeah.
That
Hey,
is
Fran.
cute. So
Mhm.
cute. Okay, what do we want to get into first?
Well,
Energy coming in.
yeah, the energy's been a lot. In the
Oh,
last couple days, we've had some pretty big stuff happen. If we rewind a little bit, right? We had a big curtain wall of white that came through. So strong that it shut down the graph, and the graph didn't report for a few days, which I actually didn't know because that was when I was moving my son into college up
oh,
in Michigan, and
right.
I had zero signals. So I literally couldn't even check the graph. So I had zero idea that it was going on, that it was
Right.
down. I did have a dream when I was there that there was a timeline jump and I couldn't get to my phone and tell
That's
anyone. And I was so frustrated in the dream. And then later, people are all texting me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, the graph has been down." I'm like, "Really?" Because by the time I opened it, it was working again. So I completely missed that. I didn't even see that.
is
So,
that normal? Does that happen very often? The timeline that the graph
um,
goes down.
so it depends. The station is located in Tomsk, Russia, which is fairly remote and it's near Siberia. It's really, really cold. And during the winter, or if they have a lot of seismic activity, I don't, I'm completely speculating, but I don't think they have the funding or the staff to necessarily man the station all the time. So if something goes down, I think it takes time for them to get to it and repair it. Um,
Oh,
Instead of if it were in the US, they have people on that stuff all the time because the universities are guarding their money, so
right.
right.
Okay.
But so it's I don't know how common it is. I would say in a month's time, it probably goes down maybe once, but it usually only goes down for a little bit. Um,
Okay.
so
But
it's
not
not
like this. So
Not
this
like
is
this, right. But there's been a lot of earthquake activity over in that region, and so if they are having a lot of seismic activity, it will disrupt the
oh, gotcha.
equipment, and then they have to reset it, and then they have to start over and, all that sort of stuff.
Is that seismic activity connected to the heartbeat though? I mean,
Could
I would
be. Yes, there's a lot of speculation about that. There's even on the Italian graph, there's when you pull up the Italian graph on the Earthbeat app, there's like 3 or 4 graphs that they show you. The top graph, which I believe is monitoring a type of seismic activity, it's not seismic activity. I'm sorry, I can't think of the name, but whatever it's monitoring, they've been studying that for a few years, and there's a correlation to when there's a change on that graph, it tends to precede some sort of seismic activity.
okay.
And Stefan Burns, he's on YouTube. He talks about it a lot. He's a geophysicist, and he comes on and
Okay.
talks about the Schumann, but he talks a lot about all the waves in the ground and stuff like that. And he's been
Okay.
talking about the science and the study of this for a while, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So, a question that just popped into my head. Um, is Schumann resonance when it's affecting us? Because we all know that it does, or you wouldn't, well, you probably might not be doing what you do, but because it
Right.
affects us. Um, do you feel like it connects with certain chakras more than others and certain colors of the chart or certain ways that spike connect and hit at different chakras?
Yes, to a point. So when
Okay.
we're looking at the graph, if you're looking at the Tomsk graph, the one from Russia, the one I normally am talking about,
Okay.
if the energy is white, this signifies to me incoming energy. And depending on how far down the chart goes, tends to be how far down the chakra system it is affecting me. Now, I've had a
Uh,
lot of people point out to me that the graph is flipped and that if it was doing that, it should be going in the other direction. But
and
again,
not for you.
not for me. That's just how it is for me. I understand, but that's how it is for me.
Yeah.
If
Interesting.
there's red energy up there, that tends to be release energy. And that also tends to start at the top and work its way down. The Italian graph, on the other hand, is monitoring more activity related to Gaia herself. So when when red energy appears on there, it's coming from the bottom up, right? And the higher up it reaches, the more chakras it tends to affect.
Okay. Okay. I was reading this. I was trying to multitask. I don't know how well I did that.
Hi, Mary. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Champagne. Hi, Rachel.
Okay. I'm so sorry. My sister-in-law. Oops. She might check on her brother. Okay. Hi, ladies. Now, you know, you've met Rochelle, and I do
Yes.
believe you've met Mary. I think you've met Mary.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe.
At Champagne.
I told you I'm terrible with names, and I
I
just
know.
realized I said
I
Michelle's
know.
name wrong again. I apologize, Michelle. I'm sorry.
No, you caught it. You did good.
No, I didn't catch it. You said it, and I go,
Oh,
oh, dang
oh,
on
oh,
it.
fair. She's pretty used to it. You know,
There's a
something.
name for this. Like, I don't know what it is, but my doctor told me once, oh, it has a name, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, well, that doesn't make me feel any better. But
Right.
I just struggle with remembering people's names. I will remember your face forever. I'll pick you out of a crowd, but I can't tell you your name.
Isn't that funny? I'm like, I can do that with horses too. Like, I know your horse. I can tell you what you're riding. I just.
Yeah.
Hi, ladies. Hi, Diana, Carolyn. Hello.
Welcome
Amanda,
in, everybody.
Tana. Hello. Okay, you guys, we have a lot of great questions. Hopefully, you've been able to catch it so far. But again, there's a playback. So, and I do want to take this moment to say it should be saying live. So, if you're watching this video at any point after August 27th, it's a recording. And so if you ask us
Yes.
questions, we won't be able to respond. Okay.
Right. But you should check the next live and bring your
Yes.
questions.
Check the next live, bring your questions. Okay. And don't forget to hit the like button, you guys. That helps a lot. Like and comment, and feel free to share and bring your friends.
Yeah, it's a
Bring
party.
friend. It's a party.
Hi,
Okay.
Meredith. Hi, Arva. Welcome, welcome.
It's fun to see familiar faces. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Meredith. Miss Arva. We have a lot. So we briefly touched on energy coming in. Is there anything about the energy coming in that you think we really need to be aware of, or something that we need to be like, okay, slow your roll, step back from the crazy for just a bit? I have found myself going down my own emotional, and then I had to pull my butt out of the mess.
Yeah. So the thing about release energy is the purpose of it is to step all over your triggers so they get your attention.
Yes.
Not so that you can blame someone else or push it away. If you
Thank you.
have triggers going off all day long, what my suggestion is stop and ask yourself, what is the common denominator here? What is the same thing that keeps triggering me throughout this day? And name it, because when you name it, it's no longer unknown and it can no longer control you, right? So once you've named it, and I'm not telling you to just throw it away because it's not that simple, but
It's
once you
not.
name
No.
it
Yeah.
and you can see it, you're like, oh, you can stop yourself and say, I can see how this is making me feel a little bit unstable because I feel like they're not listening to me or whatever it is. And then
Yeah.
you can logic yourself down before you run away with some reaction that you have. Practice your pause, take a breath, count 3 seconds before you say anything. Release energy is spicy sometimes, but it is very purposeful because you can't integrate something new, some new vibration if you're hanging on to something that's holding you where you are.
That's
You
the
have to
thing. I
make
love
space.
that. You can't go on to something new if you're still looking behind you and, dragging all the sand with you.
Right. So the way I picture it is it's like a hot air balloon. Okay. So you're standing in the basket of the hot air balloon. You have sandbags that are holding you to the ground, and you have hot air that you're shooting up in this balloon. No
Mm-hmm.
matter how much hot air you shoot up in this balloon, if you still have those same sandbags that are holding you there, you cannot go anywhere. You
Yep.
have to get rid of the sandbags. And it's not, a lot of people get very frustrated because they say, well, I'm working on my triggers. Well, your triggers are very layered, friend. And sometimes you think it's one thing and it's a completely different thing. You
Yeah.
have to be patient. You didn't get here overnight. Give yourself a hot second, Be
Yeah.
patient, be kind.
Yeah.
I'm working on this. I'm actively working on this is one of my favorite phrases,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And that's a positive way to look at it too, instead of being so intertwined with the frustration and it's, I'm actively working on it. I am a work in because we're all a work in progress. And I've had people ask me, when are we done? Good luck with that.
Oh, you're so cute. No,
I
it's
know.
never
Aw,
done.
bless
It's
you.
never done. Energy can
It's
never be
continuum.
destroyed. We're always gonna be in some form,
Yeah. We're always
and it may
working.
not always look like this, but it's gonna be something because you can't destroy energy. That's a law of the universe.
Love universe. So we can work with it though.
Correct.
And so that's part of our job as humans, is to work with the stuff coming up. What I was writing down as you were talking was, it's playing old tapes in our head. Instead of writing a new story, we're playing the old tapes, and they just keep going over and over. And so for me, it's just taking a moment to just flip that switch, even if it's just a tiny little flip. Tiny
Right.
flips will add up to big ones.
Baby steps are still steps.
Baby steps, even I tell people sideways is still a step, and sometimes stepping back is a step, because then you can regroup and take a look. So it's still movement.
Yeah.
It's still movement.
One of the most fun things I started doing for myself is when something doesn't quite work out the way I want it to, instead of going, "Oh, that was I hate I go, "Ooh, plot twist. Let's see what happens."
Plot twist,
Like,
right?
"Oh, I thought I was gonna get to my plane on time. I missed it. Ooh, plot twist. How's this
Ooh,
gonna work out?" Like don't be so serious. It's just life. Nobody gets out
yeah,
alive. I hate to spoil the ending, you know?
it's true. But I also think we are more alive on the other side than we are here.
Well, according to every near-death experiencer that I have ever listened to, yeah, we are getting the low-key version of stuff. We are
Yeah,
lo-fi on this side of things,
yeah,
and people talk about super color and all this stuff on the other side where everything this one woman, I was listening to her, and she was describing how she felt like there was just music in the air, and she said, "It's not that I could hear it, I could feel it." And she said, "I
yeah,
felt like I could taste clean air, and I felt like there were so many colors that it was just dazzling, but it didn't look out of place or anything. It looked completely normal, but it just was so over like,
yeah,
she goes, "It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," you know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm
I
like,
love that.
"Wow, that's nice."
I want to see it. We
Yeah,
will. We all will.
we
And
all will.
we all will. Shall we jump into we talked a little bit about your recent dream.
Yeah. So this was really fun. Last night at 10 PM Central Time, on the Tomsk graph, there is a single line of white energy that goes from the top to the bottom, and the duration is very short. It's less than 30 minutes, so it barely shows up on this graph. And then after that, it looks like almost the graph drops into like two different graphs, and they almost look
Yes.
overlaid, right? And then at 5 AM, there's a timeline jump exactly at 5 AM, right?
This
Now
morning.
this morning.
Okay.
Now, last night, I dream every night, but my dreams are not necessarily always organized. I don't necessarily remember them. I'm almost never lucid. It's just not the thing that works for me.
Right.
However, last night in my dream, it was one of the most visceral experiences I think I've ever had, and it was hard to process for a hot minute. So, in the dream, that feeling when you're talking to somebody and you daze off or you sort of drift off and then you snap to and you're like, "Wait, what did I miss?"
Yeah.
So, I come to in the dream like that. It's like I'm like drifting off and I snap to and I'm sitting in this giant, looked like an auditorium for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
It had this platform in the center and it had these rings around it that looked like they all had balconies or seats of some kind all the way around.
Right.
And it was very interesting because I could not only feel like I was looking out of my eyes, but I also felt like I was above myself. So I was both an experiencer and an observer. Um, I kept going back and forth between the viewpoints, and it made everything around me very blurry. So I couldn't see faces, I couldn't really make out any details, and I was going in and out of different. I don't
Right.
know how to explain it. Um, I had a very clear understanding that I was in a room full of other people. I called them other people in my head, but I also had a very clear understanding that they were different from me. Although I don't have any clue how or who they were or anything, but I know it felt like there were hundreds of these
Mm,
beings.
okay.
And I there was some sort of conversation happening that I wasn't hearing the words, but I was understanding the conversation. And I
Right.
remember at some point there was a consensus reached in a discussion. Like there was an ongoing discussion and then there was a consensus reached. And I heard something to the effect of, "Okay, that's a good choice. Let's go from there," or something like that. And it felt very copacetic, very like, "Okay, I'm glad we figured this out," you know? And I woke up from my dream, and when I tell you I woke up, I sat straight up in my bed and did one of those things like this, and was sitting there because I had no idea where I was. I'm sitting there going, "Oh my god," and it was exactly 5 a.m., which was the time of the timeline jump on the graph. Now
Oh,
it's important for me to point out, I was not necessarily lucid in the dream because I couldn't control anything.
right,
I
right.
was not in control of anything. I couldn't the f I was very aware there was a lot of people, but it was blurry. It was like this foggy blur, and my viewpoint kept changing
And
between looking from my eyes.
is this common for you?
No, this has never happened to me.
Okay.
My dreams are rarely like this. They're often just fragmented. I don't remember them. I know they're very active, but I don't
Yeah.
remember them. The only time they're ever like this is when the man with the white beard comes through, and he usually drops off some pearls of wisdom and then
Oh,
hikes
I
out of
love
there.
it.
But he was not there. And I had no, like no one said, "This is so and so council, this
Right,
is
right,
such
right.
and su" I had none of that. I just had the understanding that this was a consensus. That was a big word. We agree. This is a consensus. I didn't feel like this was anything that was being pushed on us, anything that was being forced. It felt very much like a relief. And the actual image that came to my head when I was trying to explain it to my girlfriend is, at Thanksgiving when people are like, "Well, I wanna have apple pie," and they're like, "Well, I wanna have cherry pie." And they're going back and forth and back and forth. Either one is fine, just pick one,
Oh, just
And it kind of felt like that. Like, finally, we've reached a consensus. Okay, good. Let's go in that direction.
for humanity. Is that what
Yes,
you're
is what it felt like. Yeah. So I haven't, I don't like to speculate because I don't have any clue what it meant. I just know that it was very, very real. And the two timelines looked overlapped on the graph. And then I woke up to a timeline jump.
that's really interesting. So, have you ever heard of, and you probably have, but Galactic Federation, have you seen any of that?
So I've heard the name. I've never done like a deep dive. I have never done any like listened to
Right.
any of the stuff. So I vaguely know the name, but I don't know
Okay.
anything about it really.
Okay. I am gonna just throw this crazy out there that there is a really good chance you just accidentally happened upon and accidentally happened upon a meeting of some sort. So I'm just throwing that out
So
there.
it kind of felt like that. So it felt like in reflection, I'm thinking about this, and it was like, that feeling when you're sitting in class and your teacher is just going on and on and on, and you're totally zoned out. That's very similar to a meditative state,
Yeah.
brainwaves, brainwave wise. And so I'm sitting there thinking, so what if this is another like filament from my higher self life experience? And we were just close enough in brainwave that when they dropped into this, I jumped in there
Yeah.
and, because when I came
Yes.
out of it, it was very sudden. It was like I I didn't feel like I had been seen or spotted or anything, but it was almost like I'd been pushed out.
Ah.
So very interesting.
Or kind of invited in, which is cool. It's kind of a segue to, because you were talking about it kind of senses morphing and changing and how this was kind of new. So another thing that I had, we talked about a little bit was the heightened senses,
Yeah.
because I know I've been seeing, I mean, things, I don't even know how to explain the things that I've been seeing other than, like I said to you, pre-show is I'm crazy.
Which I just wanna point out to everybody in this room, I have a degree in psychiatry, and I'm gonna tell you right now that if you think you're crazy, you're not, because crazy people don't think they're crazy. So just remember that when you're calling yourself names, okay?
When we're just like, oh Lord Jesus, I'm seeing things. So I have just been seeing a lot of very interesting looking floating things, and I've had more energies coming in near me and making their presence known. Obviously, I'm a medium. I'm used to that, but this is different.
Yeah.
This is different. So I'm like, isn't that interesting? I try not to go. I try to just be more okay. All right, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But I've been like, okay, so senses are heightened, things are shifting a little bit. There's my own senses are going a different direction, and it sounds kind of like yours are too.
Yeah, a little bit. I think the phrase I used was it's like a Rorschach blob. Like it depends on the day. Sometimes they're this way and sometimes they're that way, which is really interesting feeling when you've gotten used to your connection looking a certain way, you know? Trying
Yeah.
to shift. I'm like, what's that? What's that?" I'm trying to do a reading for someone and it's like a little kid in your ear talking and you're like, "I'm trying to talk right now," you know?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is
Or it
very,
takes
very
a different,
interesting.
completely different turn. Completely different turn. And I was telling a friend today, I did a group for the tribe. Last week I did 3 events there. And on the last day, I did a guided meditation in a much larger room. And what I had noticed is that people who were sitting next to each other that didn't even know each other when they were sharing their experiences, people who were sitting next to each other were having similar experiences. These people over here were having this experience. The people directly in front of me were sharing this experience, and the people over here were sharing this. And these are people who didn't know each other.
Yeah.
And I found that to be incredibly intriguing.
Oh, yeah. It's just tuning your dial to the frequency around you. Absolutely. That
Yeah.
brings me to a really interesting thing I would love to talk about for
Oh,
just a
let's do it.
second.
Okay.
So have you heard of the Global Consciousness Project?
I do know what global consciousness is, but I don't know that I've heard of an actual project.
Okay. So the global, I struggle with the word consciousness. So, you know, so we're going to call it the GCB or GCP,
GCV.
Global Consciousness Project. This is what it looks like on the Earthbeat app. Okay. So I know it's hard to see because of the light. So what this is scientists who have different measuring devices, and I don't know what the device is. I unfortunately don't know. Um, Let me just tell you what it says. It is a groundbreaking scientific experiment that explores whether collective human consciousness can influence the physical world. Operating since 1998, this international collaboration maintains a network of 65 sophisticated quantum random number generators stationed worldwide from Alaska to Fiji. These devices continuously produce truly random data streams, but during major global events that capture widespread attention and emotion, such as 9/11, Princess Diana's funeral, or global celebrations, the network registers measurable deviations from pure randomness. With over 325 formal experiments yielding odds of more than 1 trillion to 1 against chance, the project provides compelling evidence that focused collective human consciousness may influence quantum level processes. Right. So, what's interesting about this is just before the first plane hit the first tower during 9/11, this thing went off moments before. And it registered as a red, which is extremely high variance, meaning it points to widespread emotional or mental synchronization. Right. So it's
Hmm.
almost like spidey sense, right? So they're
Okay.
saying that we as a collective picked up on this right before it happened. So this is what they're keeping track of. Now, here's the fun thing, right? So yesterday morning, I get up and I'm checking all the things and I look and oh my gosh, it's red. And I go, oh my God, everybody's focused. Everybody's in sync. Guess what was announced shortly after that? Taylor Swift's engagement.
Ugh.
Now hold on. Now hold on. So this is not about if you like her or not. I want to
Oh, I
let me
don't
give you
dislike her. It's just like,
wait, but let me plead my case, okay?
okay,
So
okay,
listen,
okay.
let's talk about the science part of
No,
this.
I get it.
Let's talk about the science on this, all right? So regardless if we are fans of Taylor or not,
All
she is
right.
a global phenom. She has
Yes.
fans literally all over the globe. Now, all of those fans are tuned to her frequency. all over the globe, hundreds of millions of people. Now, if
Gorgeous.
Taylor is opening up and telling her publicist to go ahead and post that, it is very plausible to me that that tingle, that spidey sense
Yeah,
went out in the vibration for all those people who are tapped into her, triggering this to register, because it's not like it's a couple hundred people. It is
right.
hundreds of
Of
millions
millions.
of people who love her. So it's not about if we like her or not. It's about
Yeah, no,
everybody attuned
I
to
hope my
that.
reaction didn't make you think that. I was just like, I was expecting you to say something completely different.
Right, but this is just the thing I looked at, right? That I just
Okay.
happened to catch it. But
Yeah,
for me, this is just so it's like
it's
Taylor puts out her
crazy.
own frequency, and
Yeah,
all of her fans are tuning their dial to her frequency. So when her frequency dropped that little stuff into her etheric whatever,
yeah,
all those little antennas that are tuned to her picked up on that, triggering the GCP to go off and register that everybody was synchronized for a second. And sure enough, there was an announcement. Now, that's not to say for sure that that's what it was. I am obviously not plugged into the world and I don't know everything else that's happening. So before people come at me and tell me, well,
Oh,
it could have been this and it
okay,
could have been that. Yes,
we'll
yes, you're
block them
right.
if
It
they
could have
come at
been.
you.
I am coming from my own perspective, right? And from being an
Yeah,
American and from being aware of how influential Taylor
no,
Swift is.
100%.
I'm just looking at it from a logical point of view, right?
I kind of think we touched on that last time too, that we did this, because I feel like that's what happens with The Simpsons, because people think The Simpsons are predicting, whereas I think what's happening is it is not necessarily predicting, but creating, because people are seeing it, everybody gets on that wavelength, and then, badam, bing, here it comes.
Right. Right.
So, so isn't that interesting? So,
I
what
mean,
that
Michael
proves to
Jackson
me.
once I don't mean to talk over
No,
you,
go
but
ahead.
Michael Jackson once said ideas were alive, right? And, whatever the man did in his
Right?
private life, we're not gonna talk about that. But in his very public life and his creative abilities, he was a genius. And
Mhm.
he used to walk around with a notebook because he told people, ideas are alive. If I don't catch it, somebody else will. And have you
Okay.
ever noticed that movies come out in clumps, all with the same
Yes.
theme, because all of those creative people, Spielberg and Cameron, all those people are on the same wavelength. So when one of them catches that idea, it spreads through that wavelength and they pick up on their antennas. That's
Yes.
vibrational attunement, friends.
100%. And if we get ideas and we don't act on them, that idea can be grabbed by some, oh, here, I'm going to grab that. Oh,
I
that
mean, how
makes
many
sense to
times
me.
have you thought, "Oh, that's a great idea. I should invent that." And suddenly it's on TV and you're like, "Oh my god, I
Yeah.
should have invented that," you know?
Yeah.
I
Or
had a
you're going
great
to do
idea for
something.
something. I was
Yeah.
at the beach one time and I texted my mom. I said, "You know what? I'm gonna invent a beach chair that has a face space cut out of it so you can lay on your stomach and read a book and not feel like your neck is breaking and all this stuff." And sure enough, within 2 weeks, there was one popping up on my I'm like, "Holy cow. Look at that," you know?
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Great idea, by the way.
Yeah.
um, I don't know if I'm behind, but my internet seems really slow. A couple people had something and I wanted to share it, but now I can't find it. I might be making it up. Oh well, if you guys had a question and I missed it, you can ask it again.
Yeah, if we
Oh,
didn't address it, let us know.
Carrie says I saw a white bearded man in a vision, eyes open, down in my hay barn this morning.
Yeah, people ask me, "Who is he?" I don't know. Here's the thing, he's never once told me his name. I don't get the impression he feels it's important, you know?
Yeah, those are
Um,
important to us, not so much to
right,
them.
and when he appears to me, he always looks exactly the same, but it's interesting because I couldn't really describe him to you. You know what I mean? Like, I would
Interesting.
know him if I saw him, but in my mind, it's all smushy,
Yep,
you
yep,
know?
yep. That makes
Almost
sense.
like I don't need to know that right now, and I kinda feel like he's like, "Listen, we have meetings, let's keep to the schedule," you know?
The schedule. Oh, okay. Heightened senses, seeing energy, things like that. We talked about that.
The accidental premonitions, that's a big one too.
That's my next. So we more on timelines and accidental premonitions. Which one do you want to jump into first? Accidental
Well,
premonitions,
you were
maybe?
talking about kind of your gifts being heightened a little bit. So the
Mm,
thing that's been happening the most for me, while my gifts are shifting a little bit, the accidental premonitions are happening a lot. Like I will I don't want to give the example I did because it's not happy. But
Oh, oh.
like, for example, I'll be sitting on the front porch with my husband, which is where we sit every evening and we watch the bunnies. And I'll think to myself, oh, when Mason calls me in a minute, I should ask him blah, 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 blah. And 30 seconds later, the phone will ring. Or my husband will be on his way home from work and I will not know because he doesn't have a set time he comes home.
Right.
And I'll be thinking to myself, we should get pizza for dinner. And he'll literally call me and go, hey, babe, I'm going to stop for pizza. And that has been happening a lot. But the weird thing that happens is I don't recognize it in the moment. And it's not
Oh,
until it already happens, I'm like, wait, I knew that,
uh-huh.
and it's such a
Synchronicity.
split second thing. It would be nice if I had a few minutes notice, I could utilize this. But it's like, knowing 2 seconds before the commercial comes on that it's gonna come on, or knowing that the power is about to go out 1 second before it goes out. There's nothing I can do with that. But
Right.
it's something that's very new for me and my energy. I have not had that before. So that's very new. And I also have this new tone, which I hear energy. I hear and see I see balls of energy and I hear energy in different pitches and tones. And I've kind of built this sort of dictionary of what each tone means and how it interacts. And
Yep.
there's a new one. And what's different about this one is it's very urgent when it comes through, for lack of a better term. Most of the tones that I get, or all the other tones I get, they fade in and then fade out. This one is just there and gone, and it's super fast. And it almost feels like someone poking me, like,
Yes.
hey, 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 and we were talking about something and it happened earlier. So I haven't quite, it's a little bit frustrating because I haven't quite gotten to the point where I know what it means yet, because I haven't, it's so quick that if I don't notice it in the second,
Gotcha.
it
I
disappears.
have I have a suggestion, if I may.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when my ears ring or when I'm getting information and I can't decipher what it is, I say I received this download because I think what's happening and what I believe is happening is our subconscious is recording it. So
Okay.
I do think it's a download. I do think you're getting pushed into. I know you don't want a reading, so I'm trying not to read you,
No, I
but I
don't mind.
do,
I don't
but I
mind.
do, but I do think you're getting pulled into a lot more expansion. I mean, obviously, you know that.
Yeah. And there's
Um,
a lot of things in the pipeline.
yeah, so I saw that for you, and I think I'm excited. You've got a lot of stuff going on, kid. Kiddo.
Well, and the synchronicities, the numbers, I'm not one
Yeah,
to look up the meaning of the numbers. I just get a kick out of the repeated numbers.
yeah.
And
Oh,
today, all day long, I've been seeing 222, 333, 444, 1111. I saw 1111 twice, I think,
yeah.
because
That's alignment.
my
Those
clock in
11s
my
are alignment.
microwave was off by like 5 hours. So it was 11:11. I went upstairs and cleaned my house, come downstairs, it was still 11:11, and I'm like, "Well, that sucks." You know?
I'm gonna. I'm gonna. While you're saying that, I'm gonna share some stuff for people watching.
Yeah, so there's a question. Denise asked, "Could you discuss the white beard man?" Sure, I can tell you about that. So, the white beard man, I'll tell you what I know, right? So, he shows up in my dreams when he has some bit of knowledge to give me. I kind of look at him like a professor. In my private thoughts, I kind of call him Socrates because that's what he reminds me of, right?
Oh,
Um, and he drops in and he's never told me his name. He's never spoken to me with his mouth. It's always just thought drops. And he always gives me very specific, very clear information. And those dreams are very vivid for me. Most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, I have very vivid dreams, but I don't remember them. They're very fragmented. I don't come back with like this great experience. The only time I remember my dreams like that is usually when the man with the white beard comes through, and he's really given me some great things. And people will ask me, like, what? And I'm like, well, I don't remember now, but I know that he's given me
you've
some
downloaded.
amazing some amazing information. And people tell me, well, maybe it's this and maybe it's that. And has he ever, no, he's never told me his name. And the impression I clearly get is I don't feel like he thinks it's important. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything.
Mm-mm.
So that's just, I often believe, I really believe that energy is just energy. And he's probably taking a form that feels comfortable for me and has nothing to do with what he actually looks like, you know?
100%.
Right.
100%. They appear how we need them to appear. My gatekeeper guide appears in armor, and I guarantee you he's not running around spirit world in armor.
Right.
But that's what I
Absolutely.
needed.
I mean,
Yeah.
energy is it takes the form of the container which it finds itself, right? Like water. And I think for us, if he were to show up like a giant insect, I would not be super excited about that. So
No.
he shows up, and I am someone who is a lifelong learner. I am a professor. I have a big reverence for knowledge and research. So for him, he shows up as someone that I associate with that. So that I pay attention, you know.
Yeah.
If he showed up like Taylor Swift, I'd be like, "Yo, let's party," you know.
Right. They will show up the way that makes you feel comfortable. I'm just going to share this for numerology for people who are
Yeah,
interested
absolutely.
in
Please
looking that
do.
up.
Please do. Hey, Mary
And
Beth.
and then the thing about names, what my guides told me is typically when they give you a name, it is simply a name they had with you in a past life. Because as they're not as important to them as they are to us. But sometimes we need it because we want to imagine a certain person. So like my
Yeah,
main guide gave me the name James. James is the name he had with me in a past life.
yeah, I agree.
So
Uriah, my main guide's name is Uriah, and when I asked for her name, she asked me to pick a name, and I said, "Well, I don't what is your name?" And she just kept saying, "Well, you choose." And then finally Uriah came up, and I honestly think the reason she gave me Uriah is because it starts with an E, and so does my name. And so it just, it's just one of those things that I
oh,
just
do you want me to tell you what that means?
what does it mean?
So the name Uriah has its roots in Hebrew. It is derived from words Ur meaning flame or light, and Yah meaning short for the divine Yahweh, meaning God.
Well, look at
Oh,
that. I did not know that.
see, and I always tell people, look up the name that they give you. I have one Shadira, and I
Okay,
was like, well,
interesting.
that's weird. And I looked that up, and I was like, oh shit, that makes sense, because of the energy she presents. So always look up the names. Look. So what I do is I type in. So for anybody watching, I type in the name that I receive, and behind it, I just type in the word etymology, Etymology. So I am excited.
That's
So
really interesting. Yeah, I learned something new. That's really awesome. I love that. Thank you.
okay, this is fun. You're teaching me. You're teaching me. Okay. So I was excited to share that. Anyway, I feel like the kid in class, like when she knows something, like, oh, I know that one.
Yeah, right?
It's like, Professor, oh, I know that one.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. I get like that all the time. I'm like, "I just call on me. Just pick me. Just pick me. Just pick me. Let's talk
Yes,
about it," you know?
let's do it. Let's do it. It's nice to have the deeper conversations too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because sometimes, I don't have a lot of people, and like most people, I think in our position, I don't have a lot of people around me who I can talk about this with. Like even my very good friend who is so open to this, I'll tell her something and I can see that it's
Yeah.
not having the impact on her that it did on me, and I'm like,
You're
"Alright."
like, no, this is really cool. I'm serious.
And she does her best. She's like, you know?
My friends from my past, prior to this stuff happening, we don't talk about these things very much. I have one other friend who I do because she's kind of coming along too. She's recently found Dr. Joe Dispenza and is like, oh my lord.
Oh,
So,
yeah, she's a good one.
but mostly we don't have those discussions.
Well, you never know when they're ready, you know?
Yeah, and I think that too. If they are, I'll be here.
Yeah, I agree.
Ryan's. Oh, we got some fun questions coming in. Cindy, I was riding a tricycle. Here, let me just post this or put it up here. Riding a tricycle through the desert 2 days ago in my dream. Oh,
So something that,
amazing.
I had a very good friend of mine tell me once, and one of her connections to spirit is through dream interpretation. She told me that while the visuals can be important in the dream, some things to remember is that your puny little human brain is trying to translate a vibration that's really strong, and it
Yeah,
often will scramble the imagery. She said the more important thing is the feeling in the dream. if you are in a car driving somewhere and you have a feeling of carefreeness
Right.
versus if you're in a car driving and you have a feeling of fear, regardless if you're driving towards Disney World both times, they're a different thing.
Absolutely.
So she was very clear with me. She's like, be very careful that you don't get tangled up in the imagery because sometimes your brain just doesn't know what to do with what it's got. So it just pulls
Yeah.
up whatever's in there,
Trying to process it. Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
And it's never word for word. Like, how do I say? Like house. I dream of my childhood home a lot. I know that's because of trauma. And I know that I'm going back there and I'm trying to get the damn answers.
Right.
Okay. So a house doesn't necessarily symbolize the house. Now I also dream about my husband's grandparents' house, and it's always haunted.
Oh,
Every
interesting.
every time I'm in there, it scares the F out of me. And I don't typically get scared at this stage of I mean, there are some things that kind of freak,
Yeah.
but as a rule of thumb, I'm what is that?
Yeah.
So, but I always have that dream, and it's always at my husband's grandparents' house.
That's super interesting.
I know. I
Very
told you.
interesting.
Okay, so we'll quit talking about me. Julia is asking about anything from DeWard. I don't know what that is, sweetheart.
Yeah, I don't know what Deward is or who Deward is.
I don't either. So, okay. Do we have? Oh, this was a fun one.
Do you think we have soul names? That's a great question. So for me personally, I'm going to say no because in the etheric realm, we're not communicating with words. I think we recognize each other on a vibrational level, and I don't think we use a lot of voice box or eye or brain stuff. So I think it's more of just an understanding that you are all of this, not
Yes.
just this name.
Yeah. I at one point thought we did because when I was fairly new to this, couple years in, I had something standing over me when I woke from sleep, and they pointed at me, and I heard Xylanthia. So I was like, all I could think at the time is that's my name.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, I found out that's not what that is. That is a planet. That is a. Are you
Okay.
freaking kidding? Who knew?
That's
Who knew?
awesome.
I
mean, I
know.
think
In
it's
Sirius star system, I believe.
I think for humans, we need names because that's how we categorize things.
Yeah.
It's part of our survival skills, tiger,
Yeah.
bear, dog. There's
Yes.
difference,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think for us as humans, names are very valuable, but even that's changed throughout our humanity. Like it used to be your name was and now it's, whatever. And
Right.
women used to be named by their husband, Mrs. You know where that comes from, right?
No.
It's the possessive of Mr.
Oh, yes. Yes. Absolutely believe that.
So,
Yes.
it's
That's another
these
rabbit hole.
things are very arbitrary, right?
Yeah.
So, but it helps us as humanity to process the experience that we're in, so they have value. And it doesn't mean that if you're in a session with someone and they say you have this version of self that has this name, that doesn't mean that's incorrect. That just means for you to be able to understand what's happening here.
Yes.
This is what they're doing it because I guarantee you, if you have an incarnation on another planet, they don't speak English.
Mm.
So they don't have a name Brad. That would make no
No.
sense. You know what I mean?
It
It's
might be.
so that we can process it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. It totally is. And like my name, like I said, when they give me names, like my guide James, it was his name in a past life. It's not.
Right.
So it's not.
It's just a point of reference,
Point of
it's just an
reference.
easy point of reference.
Yeah. That's a great question. Tanya, I had a dream a snack bite my left. I think she's saying snake. I had a dream a snake bit my left foot, and I tried to enter it, and I was freaking. You tried to enter the snake?
Oh.
Well, that's a
Freud would have a
metamorphosis.
lot to say about this. Freud was a fan of the snake,
The serpent. Oh, interesting.
Very interesting.
I don't know. I think the thought of a snack biting her foot makes me want to giggle. So,
Right.
oh, I don't. Yeah, Carla. I had Jesus come to me and he said, Isaiah 31:2, I am a believer, but not Christian.
So that's an important thing to talk about, I think. So Something I want every single person to understand is if there is a piece of if you have a belief in a religion and it serves a purpose for you, then you don't have to give that up. Okay. I want you to understand spirituality is about and, not or. All of these teachings, when you get rid of all the political BS that got built on top of the teachings of not just Jesus, but all the other prophets, you get rid of all the crap and boil it down, the messages are very similar. The problem is man is the problem and got his fingers in there and didn't like it. So when people say, well, I feel bad because I don't want to give up the teachings of Jesus, no one's telling you to do that, friend. Jesus had a lot of great things to say. It was misinterpreted a lot of the times, but he had a lot of great things to say. And I don't think Jesus would be super excited about his words being used as a weapon, you know? But if it gives you a sense of comfort, a sense of peace, there's nothing wrong with that. Spirituality is incredibly personal. Religion is group, spirituality is individual. Religion gives you rules, spirituality gives you freedom. And you can choose either one. But with spirituality, I believe it's our job to take what resonates for us from each thing we learn and create that individual little pocket of support for ourselves. And for
Yeah.
some people, that's going to look one way, and for some people, it's going to look another way, but it doesn't matter because it's individual.
Yeah. That's something that has been coming up for me a lot in the last couple of weeks is question everything. Question everything. And I think that's a huge thing that we're going through energetically is that we need to really start questioning what's been put upon us because there's going to be a lot of fallacies that are revealing themselves and a lot of things that are no longer serving our greater good, which kind of goes along with your dream of that we're making the shift. We're making
Right.
a shift. So that's kind of cool.
Right.
Oh, Cindy says I think she was riding the tricycle through the desert. I think it was telling me I'm playing small, think bigger.
Yeah, girl, get yourself a motorcycle and get off that tricycle. You
Yeah,
don't, you know,
yeah.
save
Emma,
yourself some gas.
Ryan says, I was doing a meditation and kept getting the name Anaya. I'm going to look it up for you. You already looked it up. Meaning completely free, and I kept hearing soul name. Oh,
Well, I mean, my guide identifies herself with a name to help me when I'm
yeah,
calling upon her. It's easier to
yeah.
go, "Hey, Uriah, could you come hang out with me?" than, "Hey, Blob,"
Hey,
you
Blubba.
know? So it's helpful. So it could be that. It could be a guide. It could be anything. It could be just trying to tell you. I mean, you really gotta pay attention to how you feel about it. If you feel like that name has importance, it absolutely has importance, and it doesn't matter if I know what it is or anybody else knows what it is. It's
Yeah,
100% based on you and what you feel.
yep. And I just looked it up and it means caring or compassionate translates to answer of God or look up to God. I
Yeah.
don't think God is up there, just so you guys, I mean, that's
God is
my
everywhere.
interpretation.
God is everywhere. God is in the
Oh,
air you breathe and the blood in your body. God is in the flowers outside and the sun in the sky. God is absolutely everywhere. Every breath you take in pieces of God.
Arvis said, thank you for sharing your take on religion.
You know, what's really interesting is I am married to someone who was in seminary when we met. And so I have a unique perspective on stuff, and he knows a lot of the history of religion, which is super interesting.
Yeah,
When you start getting into the Council of Nicaea and the books that were left out and why they were left out and all this stuff, it's super, super interesting, but it doesn't take away from the underlying message of the teaching itself, not the
yeah.
church of not Christianity, but the teaching itself, you know?
Love, love one another. Be nice. Okay. Um, Emma, keep seeing shadows in the corner of my eyes. In the corner of my eyes, sometimes dark, sometimes white. I don't feel scared, but I wonder if that's normal. For you, it is.
Yeah, so I would say so first of all, one of my things that I would love to work on is getting rid of the word normal because that's a lie. That's not a thing. We can use the word common instead. Is this common or is this unusual? Right. So, something to remember is that we all have a base frequency. Think of yourself as 8 hertz. We'll just pick a number randomly. You're 8 hertz. When you go in and out of different states of consciousness, theta, beta, gamma, right? And you do this all day long. If you're watching a TV show and you're drifting off, you're falling down into theta. If you're going into deep sleep, you're down in gamma. There's all these things. As you do that, your frequency flexes and does this, right? So if you go down into theta, your frequency will flex. That's the meditative state. And you will pick up on things that are right at the very edge of your perceptive abilities as a human being, right? And then when you snap back, it'll sort of come back and your scope narrows a little bit. I mean, that's been my experience, at least.
Mhm.
We do this in the theta brainwave state opens you up to things that are frequency wise just out of the reach of humans. Like what we are seeing in the world around us, if you walked around with infrared glasses on, friends, you'd be terrified because there's so much stuff in the air that you
But
can't even see, you know.
dude, and you can train your eyes to see those things by what you're focusing on, but once you see them, you cannot unsee
You
them.
cannot unsee them, and it would be terrifying. I mean, we are literally walking through a soup of Wi-Fi, radio waves, cell phone towers, like, it's literally everywhere around particles, neutrinos coming from the sun and passing through your body without even knowing it's there, all this, and if you had glasses to see that, it'd be paralyzing, terrifying. So humans can't see all that stuff, thankfully, and
Yes.
so we instead have this little narrow viewpoint, but every once in a while, when you drop into those bigger frequency states, it'll open up just enough to bounce against those edges, and you will pick up on things. You'll hear things that sound like maybe a radio's on somewhere in the house. That's a
Mhm.
very common one that I hear from clients. "Sounds like the radio's on downstairs." I don't have a radio. It's like one of those
Yeah,
things, but you go down there
same
and
with
there's
that.
nothing there. It's just out of reach. You just can't quite hear it, or seeing something out of the corner of your eye, and by the time you turn to look, it's gone. And then you're like, "Wait, was that something?" That's all
Yes.
just brushing up against the very edges of human perception.
Sorry, the kid came up for a pet.
Aw.
It's dinner time and dad's incapacitated.
Oh, right.
Sorry about that. So, did I interrupt you? I didn't mean to do that.
No, you did not.
Okay. I totally lost my train of thought because of my
No, that's
dog.
okay.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
So something for you guys to think about. Rochelle said, "I've heard that distant sound of a radio noise or static several times." Yeah. Something for you guys to think about, that age-old question, if a tree falls in the forest, does anyone hear it? The answer to that question is no. And you know why? Because when the tree falls, it creates a vibration. And if nothing is there to translate the vibration, why would it make a sound? Your ear
Is what
translates the
translates the vibrate.
vibration and
Oh
makes
shit,
the
that's
sound.
awesome. That's fabulous. That's fabulous.
So think about
Okay.
that. If you aren't looking for something, you're not gonna hear it. If you aren't attuning to something, you're not gonna know it's there. You have to open up and be available to the idea that, wow, this world is magical. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe
Mhm.
there is something to that weird tone I keep hearing in my ear every time my sister-in-law comes over, you know?
You have to believe it to see it. You have to believe it to receive it. Along those lines, with hearing frequency, same thing. I had a client who, in 1 month, got in like 3 or 4 car accidents, and not one of them were her fault. And she kept getting hit because she was vibrating outside of their frequency. And
Yeah,
so I told her, I was like, when you're on the road, see me, see me, see me. You see
yeah,
me. People see me. And it happens a lot. People get in
yeah.
accidents like, oh, I didn't even see you.
Well, you can see it even so I'm sure I know I've experienced, I'm sure you've experienced, and I'm sure many people in this room have
Yeah.
experienced it, where you're having a conversation with someone and you're thinking to yourself, "Are they even hearing me?" Because, you'll say
Like,
something and you're like, "Oh, like this?" And you're like, "No,
no,
not even a little bit."
no.
Are we speaking the same language? That happens to me a lot, especially when I start talking about stuff around spirituality. The person I'm speaking to, if they are not ready for what I'm saying, it's like they almost cannot literally understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like when someone's trying to explain calculus to me. I'm like, "What?" And you can write it 87 different ways. I'm still not going to get it. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what it's like sometimes when I'll start talking to somebody. And it's a really interesting feeling because now I'm sitting here going, now what do I do? Do
yeah,
I just back out of the conversation and go, you know what, let's talk about something else, or, go Bears or whatever. Like, what do I do in that situation? Because if they ask me a question, I want to give them an answer, but I also don't want to repeat myself 16 different times,
right.
It's a really interesting feeling.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen all the time, but
Yeah.
it happens plenty.
And in those situations, and I know for me, sometimes people, well, it doesn't happen as much as it used to for sure, but somebody would be talking, and the harder I try to hear and understand what they're saying, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't, nope,
Yeah. Yeah,
don't know what you just
absolutely.
said.
Eckhart Tolle's work is like that for me for some reason, and I just that man, I know he's got
Brilliant.
some great points,
Yes.
but I can't read what he's saying. I swear
It's
it might
like,
as well still be in German for all I care. I've tried. I have many of his books. Now I can sit
right.
down and I can read Dr. Morehouse's book in one sitting and understand every word he says. I can read or Dr. Dispenza's books and
Yeah.
understand because I process things in a very logical, linear way, and
Yeah.
if someone's trying to explain it to me like spaghetti, I'm not gonna understand it, you know?
Right. Yeah, I'm there
So,
with you.
I think it's important if you're struggling with a term and you find a teacher and you feel like, "Well, this teacher's not helping me," don't don't give up because it's not
Yeah.
that's why there's so many different teachers because there's
Yes.
8 billion of us on this planet. So there's going to be so many
Yes.
different styles of learning. And if you don't resonate with one, doesn't mean you won't resonate with another. Just
Exactly.
you keep going till you find the one, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And in the mediumistic world, if somebody doesn't feel like they connect with you, then it's because you're not real. Instead of like, okay, maybe I just don't
Right.
have the best connection here, but maybe if I go to someone else, there may be a better connection, or even somebody who's using their psychic abilities too. So
Yeah. Or someone who comes into the session wanting to prove you wrong. That's a
yeah,
that's a tricky one.
yeah. I've gotten a lot braver about that. There would have been a time when I first started that I felt like I had to prove myself to everybody. But now I'm just getting old, I think. And I'm just like, no, I don't think so. I'll refund you. Goodbye.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's getting older. I think that's becoming discerning, right? Because if we sit in that session with someone who came there with the intention of not believing, we're allowing doubt to be sown into our own system,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's just discernment when you say, okay, we're not resonating today, friend. Like, let's
Yeah.
try it again another day, or here's
Yep.
some other people that you can try. I best of luck to you,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and one day I had two women with the same name book readings for their boyfriends with the same name. And so the women had the same name and the boyfriends had the same name. And the
Interesting.
first one that logged in to do the Zoom, I immediately set a brace in me, and I was like, I knew right away this nope. So so we both decided this is not going to be a great idea. So I refunded his girlfriend, but the next one that came was the sweetest, most loving soul,
Yeah.
and it was the most beautiful session. And so I just found it interesting. I was like, okay, what's spirit doing today?
Yeah.
They're really making me just
Yeah.
power up a little bit and step into my power. Because I said there would have been a time I would have fallen all over myself trying to make it. And
Right. So coming from the people pleaser background, right? I'm president of People Pleasers Anonymous. Hello, I'm your president.
charter
Um,
member.
right. So I also very much I used to if I was reading for someone, I would hold back if I was getting something that I thought would make them upset. I wouldn't tell them because I thought I'm just trying to spread positivity and goodness,
Love
blah, blah,
night.
blah, and love light. And I got a very stern rebuke from my guide in meditation one morning. She clearly dropped in and she said, "What are you doing? This information is not for you. It is for them. And if I'm giving it to you, you need to give it to them." Oh, well, what if it doesn't matter? You're not here to judge the information. You're
No.
simply here to translate the information. And she quickly pointed out to me that I am just a radio. And she
Yeah.
goes, You're just the radio. You're not here to draw the songs or write the songs or compose the songs. You're just playing the song. And I was like, all right. So now I tell people, and I have found that I get a lot of pushback sometimes because there's a lot of not wanting to take accountability
Yeah,
for our own actions, friend.
because a lot of times it's somebody else's thing. This is all on them. And
Right.
well,
Right.
and difficult information that's come through has I've had to get very okay. How do I say that? Picked up
Yes.
years ago. I saw somebody being violently attacked in her car by a male, and we'll just let you lead to what that ended in. And I didn't know how to tell her that I felt this was going to happen because I felt like I needed to protect her. Um, and that I say I'm getting emotional just thinking about it because I didn't want it to happen. And she reached out to me, or actually I ran into her in public, and she was like, "Remember when you said this?" And I don't always remember sessions, but that's not one that it's easy to
Right. I can
forget.
imagine.
Yeah, and and this is going to sound awful for people listening to this, but she said, had that not happened to me, I wouldn't have had this, and this happen. So this beautiful soul was able to take something horrific that actually did end up happening, and she was able to do something very positive to change her life.
Right. Yeah. So fortunately, mine are not normally like that. Mine are normally more like, I'm trying to manifest a new job. And I'm like, that's great. What are you doing about it? Well, I'm thinking about it all the time. And I'm like, great. So what are you doing about it? Well, I'm meditating on it. And I go, okay, so let's just talk about this for a second. So when you get the insight, what are you receiving in meditation? Oh, I have all these pictures of how I want to decorate, how I want to this. Great. That's your inspiration. That's what you need to grab onto and start pulling on that, because that is law of attraction saying, here, catch this. It's like a fishing lure. Catch this, catch this, catch this. Right.
Yeah,
Um, Faith is not passive. That's one of my
you
favorite
still got to take action.
it's one of my favorite sayings.
Yeah,
If you ask Source for a birthday cake, Source says, great, here's the keys to a fully stocked kitchen. Make it yourself, but you can make any cake you want. But you have to take the initiative to go
yeah,
into the kitchen and get the ingredients and put them together. And that often means following through with inspirations that sometimes feel pointless. What's the point of me playing around with the idea for a name for a company that I don't even know if I'll ever have it? Well, the point of that is you play around with that name and you start having fun and being silly, and you get the momentum of that moving instead of the momentum of this'll never work, this'll never work.
right.
When you're thinking about something you want for yourself, you cannot attach those ugly feelings to it, because law of attraction does not care what you say. It's all about how you feel. So if you want a new house, when you picture that house in your head, you want to picture the joy you're going to feel. You want to picture how you're going to decorate, the parties you're going to throw. You don't want to picture the loan, the down payment, this, that, because then you are weighing down all of that and it cannot reach you. You have got to give yourself permission to have fun with what you want. We
Yes,
practice going to sleep every night before we go to sleep. You have to practice bringing these feelings to you before the feelings can reach you. It's resonance, right?
yes,
You got
and
to line up
feel
with it.
them. Yes, 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 yes. Feel them, feel them, feel them. And one thing that I was taught was that you don't have to know how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't have to figure all the intricate details out right away.
Yeah. It's
It's
none of our business.
having faith.
It's none of our business how.
Yeah,
Our business is what? What do you want?
yeah.
What do you want? It's the
And
universe
get clear
business.
on it, because I've also discovered, you probably have too, that people aren't always super clear on what it is they want to create. They know they want to be happy. They know they want joy,
Right.
but some people aren't sure what that might look like.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from living in a culture that is constantly pushing us to do more, do more, do more, do more with no end in sight.
Yeah,
And we forget what we actually used to love. And one of the things
yeah.
I will tell people when they say something like that to me, I say, well, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, I don't know. I just want to be happy. I'm like, okay, well, I want you to sit down and I want you to write out a day as if it's in present tense, living that day exactly how you'd want to live it with no limits, right? So you're not going to say, I get up and go to the grocery store. You're going to say, today I woke up and the sun was right in my eyes and it was beautiful and warm and I could smell the ocean coming through the window. And I got up and lazily walked to my beautiful marble kitchen where, you know, my so-and-so friend was cooking me eggs Benedict and, you know, really embellish it and get that feeling going. And as you're sitting in that feeling, what do you want to do? What do you want to spend your time doing? Do you want to spend your time in the garden? Great. That's a passion. What do you want to do in the garden? Maybe your gift comes from plant medicine or working with plants or something like that. You got to give yourself permission to dig through things, to find the little thread and then
Yeah.
pull on that thread, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. For all your worth. For all
Yeah.
your worth.
Yes.
Pull on
Yes.
that sucker. Okay. It's just, I was reading to see if there were any more questions, and I don't think there's any fresh ones.
No, I haven't seen any fresh questions in a hot second.
Okay. Okay. How do you feel?
I feel great. I feel great.
Awesome. Okay. Um, I think we talked about, okay, we did. We talked, what did I, oh, tones. We were talking about tones. I already talked about that. Downloads. I wrote down karmic, but I don't know what I meant by that. And then I wrote down plain old tapes, and I think we talked. Oh, I know something that I had written down and I forgot to ask you about. Um, so shadow work app. I actually went to download one today, and it's giving me a fit, so I can't do it. But I understand you gave that, you suggested it to somebody. So I was just going to see if you had a specific app that you like to share with people.
Yeah, so it's not an app, actually, it's
Oh,
an online workbook. So it's
okay.
on lonerwolf.com.
I'm going to pull that up and I'll
Yeah,
share that.
and I like it for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's very structured, and shadow work can be overwhelming if it has no structure to it. So this is designed in a way to gently walk you through some things with very thoughtful prompts. Number two, it is electronic, so you're not wasting any paper, right? But it's
Nice.
password protected. So if you put it on your computer, no one can access it except you. So you
Oh,
can feel
that's awesome.
safe typing in there. I've done that journal myself probably 2 or 3 times because, you know, we're always producing new shadows.
Yeah.
So it's a great one.
It's a continual thing. Cool. I shared that. Does anybody that's watching this not know what shadow work is? Or shall she'd asked me. She's like, she said an app or I was like, shh, let's ask.
Yeah. And then just so everybody knows, there is this free online virtual event that I am part of the first
Nice.
week of September called Authentic Awakening.
Is there a link for that? I can look it up.
Let me see. I have it here. 1 second. Oh, nope, that's not it. Hold on. I have 7,000 emails in here. So.
Oh my God. Sister, you need to clean that out. Are they all brand
Here it is.
new?
No, I
Oh,
save
good.
stuff. I save stuff so
Like I
I
thought I
don't.
was busy.
I save stuff so I don't lose it, and then I forget that it's in there. All right, I have it. Let's see if I can put it in here.
And will you be covering stuff like shadow work?
Yes. So there are several presenters for this, and mine is on the 2nd of September, and it's called Everyday Energy. And in this presentation, I talk about energy in your daily life, what frequency is, what lining up with frequency is, why it's important for your focus, law of attraction, manifestation, all that stuff. The best thing is this is virtual and it's pre-recorded. So even if you can't do it in the moment, you get a link
Oh, that's fabulous.
and you can go back and watch it when you have time.
That's awesome. So, and did you post the link? You might have, and I wasn't paying
I
attention.
think I put it down in this chat, but it says it's private chat, so I don't know where it went.
Oh, it went to me. That's okay. I'll share it.
That's the only place I have to put it. I can't put. There's
It
nowhere
doesn't
for
let
me
you
to.
post. Oh, well, that's
It
silly.
does not. I don't. That's the only thing I have.
I'll see. Okay. So I went and shared that. So if you guys want to look, so people are asking. So I took the liberty of pulling up what they say, and then we can give examples
Sure.
of shadow work and why it's important. So Carl Jung, Jung, is the one who is like the grandfather, discovered this. And he says shadow work, a concept, involves recognizing and integrating the repressed parts of ourselves to achieve personal growth and wholeness. The one that I like to use, the example my guide showed me was, let's say there's a little boy. And let's say the little boy falls down and he starts crying and he gets a swat, and his mama or daddy say, boys don't cry. Stop it. I'll give you something to cry about. So what he learns is it is not safe and it is not okay for him to show that part of himself. So then he starts to shut that down. So then maybe he goes to school and he sees the little boy, another little boy get hurt, and his teacher comes over, gives him a hug, and says, "Oh, buddy, it's okay. How do you feel? Let's talk about that." So now he thinks there's something wrong with him because this little boy got the love and got all the feels out and got to express himself and say how he's feeling, while he was spanked for it. So they don't start hating other people. They can, but they start hating themselves. And then as women, we're like, why aren't our men talking to us? Why can't
Right.
they share their feelings and
Right.
express themselves?
Yeah.
Because they had that spank right out. I mean, and it doesn't have to be violence by any.
Right.
I mean,
It's a gamut of things. I mean, the way I have always explained it is shadow work is the acknowledgement and integration of the pieces of you that you hide away for fear of judgment or punishment. And much of it is unconscious because it happens in our very early formative years when we're being told what we're supposed to be like. And so we learn that if I talk too much, that gets me in trouble. So we push that outgoing personality piece of ourselves into
yeah,
the dark side and we label it as unhealthy or bad because we received a judgment or a punishment for that. Shadow work is acknowledging that these pieces of us exist and that the integration of them makes us complete. It's not about pushing them away. It's about healing the feeling that we're being judged by it. It's
yes.
also not about blaming your parents, people. This is not about blaming your
Yeah,
parents.
that's not what I meant when I was
No, and I'm not saying
but
that at all.
yeah,
But
oh,
I
good
get a
word.
lot of people who their fear about doing shadow work is they're like, I had great parents. And I'm like, this is not about your parents.
Oh,
This is not about blaming your parents. This is about acknowledging something you feel, acknowledging it, and then bringing it into who you are and making it part of the full expression of you, you
yeah.
know? And for me, as someone who is autistic, I'm late diagnosed autistic, which is a whole subject we can get into because women are commonly late diagnosed autistic because they mask so well, because they carry the burden of motherhood, right? So they have to care for the young rather than themselves. And when our
Yes.
children move out, the mask falls down and we don't know how to cope. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But one of the things for me that I pushed away was I'm really, really smart. But when I was a kid, every time I would raise my hand in class, I would get labeled the nerd or whatever, and it made me feel small and bullied. So I stopped putting that part of myself forward, and I started acting stupid. I started acting dumb around people because that's what got their attention and that's what I got praised for. Oh, you're so cute. Let me just explain it to you. And in my head, I'm like, I could literally do this with my eyes closed. But that's what was rewarded.
Mhm. Yeah, big time. And women in general were taught that they weren't so smart, let
Sure,
the men do
sure.
it, kind
But
of
that's
thing.
just one example, and there's a lot of things. I'm sorry, I'm burning up all of a sudden.
Oh
There's a
no.
lot of
Oh,
things that we don't recognize that we've pushed away, but they show up in our lives as triggers in someone else.
yeah.
And very lovingly, your triggers, friends, are your problem. I'm not going to tippy toe around all the eggshells you broke. So, you know, you need to get a broom. It is
Oh,
our
find that funny.
responsibility.
You need to get him. I might have to steal that, Aaron. You
Do
need
it.
to get a broom.
Do it. I tell people you got to get a broom, sister. That's your problem. And it's not that the way you feel is invalid, but it's
No,
not my responsibility to keep you comfortable in your own discomfort. Why would
yeah.
I do that?
That's where
You
that
know?
shadow work comes in, is owning it and claiming it. Like, this is my stuff. I'm holding on to this from whatever traumas that I'm not looking at. And when I can start, and and I can, just from somebody who's done my own freaking shadow work, still do a lot of it.
Yeah.
Is it just organically kind of falls away when we start doing the work. And the little things that used to bother us are like, yeah, that doesn't bother
Yeah.
me anymore.
Well, and that's how you know. So triggers are not something that just go away overnight. They get less and less and less and less, and then they're gone. And it's a great way to notice your growth.
Yeah.
So specifically for me, I've had a lot of insecurity around finances, like everybody.
Yes.
Um, but particularly for me, it was very triggering when anything would happen. I would go off the deep end thinking, "Oh my God, they're going to repossess my house because I was late returning this video." Like I was really not logical about it, and it's been
Yeah.
something I've been working on. And when you're working on your triggers, as you start to unwind those triggers will get more frequent and more intense, and it's kind of like, okay, you're ready for this to go, let's see if it's gone, right?
Mhm.
And some of the perfect examples is I thought I had done all this work on myself, or I did all this work on myself, right?
Yeah.
And then I get the letter from the IRS saying you didn't pay your taxes. And I'm like, oh, excuse me, friend. I have the receipt and I know I paid my taxes, right? So
Right.
I tried to call the IRS because in the letter it says you have to respond to this letter by
Yeah.
this date, or we're going to assume the debt is valid and we're going to basically come after you. So I'm calling them. I called every single day. And every single day I was on hold for well over an hour before I got disconnected and could never get through. Right. The date comes and passes. I even went so far as to send a certified letter to the IRS office with receipt copies of everything, thinking this
Right.
is the only way I can reach them.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I'm just going to leave it, right? I got a letter again from them. This must be valid. Now, in the moment, the old me, I recognized in the moment, the old me would have flipped out. Oh my God, I'm never going to fix this, blah, blah, blah. But instead, what I did was I recognized, okay, this is an opportunity, right? So I took that letter and I folded it up and I put it away and I said, right now is not the time to deal with this because I'm too emotional. So I'm going to leave it alone for a minute. And I came back to it later and I sat down and the next day said, I'm just going to try to call him. I called and girl, I got through on the first call. And she answered the phone and she fixed that problem in 5 minutes. And it was such a thing to me like, okay, there it is.
Mhm.
That's what it feels like. But I had the choice in the moment.
I
I
got
could have
goosebumps.
reacted. I could have reacted, but I recognized it and I said, no, not today. And
Not to,
I put it
oh,
away and went back to it when I was more objective about it. And that's kind of real world action of what that looks like, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I
Because
think a
that's a
lot of
big
times
thing. That's
it is.
that's kind of triggering for. I mean, anybody would be triggered by.
It
By
is. And
yeah.
I think a lot of times we can't, it's hard because we can't really name our triggers.
Uh huh.
We don't know what the actual problem is. Like one of my biggest pet peeves in my professional life was I used to hate it when people would come to me with a problem but not have a suggestion for a solution. I used to hate that.
Yeah.
And the reason now looking back that I liked that is because I always felt helpless because I felt like I was pushed to the side. You're not important enough to have this. You're not important enough to have this. So when someone brought that complaint to me and they acted helpless, it triggered in me this feeling of why are you acting like that?
Right.
An
Right.
overreaction.
I want to point something out real quick because you were talking about the IRS and that you were having a hard time getting through to them. They had you on hold for a freaking hour. And as you were saying that, and if anybody watches this back, all of a sudden, and it's gone, a fly kept flying around my head. And so I looked that up. And then you said, I finally got through, and it was like this. And the message to the fly is keep your eye on the prize. Persistence will get you there.
I freaking love it. I love it.
So I love how little critters will show up and just be like, here's
Oh,
a message for
absolutely.
you. Here, pay attention to
Absolutely.
this.
It's
So,
everywhere. It's so
so
cool.
you did. You stayed and then,
I
whoo,
did. I
woosa.
did. Yeah, and it doesn't mean that I'm, like, never gonna be triggered again.
No.
It just
And,
means that I have better control.
and you have some tools. And I think that's what spirituality is you have some tools. You have some things that you can look at. Because I think a lot of people think spiritual leaders, people in the communities that are teaching, that they don't have problems or they everything is so perfect for them, and that is so not true.
Is very untrue. We
Yeah,
are just human too. you know?
just human. And it's just things, okay, I know I can do this if this starts happening for me. It's so cool. I mean, it's just cool.
It is. I mean, and there are plenty of days too where I'm like, "I don't feel like being nice today." You know, like, everybody has days like that, but the important thing is to recognize that when you go to sleep at night, you reset your vibrational
Yeah.
frequency, you can start over in the morning and that it's a new day.
Yeah,
A new day.
yeah, and it's a mornings are a wonderful opportunity to call in good energy before you even get out of bed.
Yeah.
So if you wake up and you don't have an emotion, good, because you should be neutral at that point, and then call in that, "Oh, I called my bliss to me today. I'm gonna
Well, yeah. When you're laying in bed, before you get out of bed, before you pick up your phone, instead of going through the list in your head of all the things you have to do today, I have to go to the store, I have to do laundry, start going through the list of all the things you get to do today. I get to go see my
Yes.
niece today. I get to go pick flowers today. I get to go do this and build your energy in that
Yeah.
direction. Don't start your day off in the wrong direction.
Oh,
All
no.
those things you have to do, they will figure out a way into your day. Trust me, you know?
Okay. I was just watching, I think Arva's having a conversation with somebody else.
Okay.
Asking her to watch this. Apparently, you said something that answered a question that she's excited about.
Oh, good. That's good. That's
Okay,
always
woo,
nice.
woo. Okay,
Always
good
nice.
stuff. Good
You know,
stuff.
one last thing I wanna talk about before we end everything. I went to the Psy Games last month, which was a conference of people like us, and they had actual competitions where people would be blindfolded and would sort things by colors. It was incredible, but, when I was there, there was a woman there giving a talk that I took from her. Her name was Pamela. It starts with a C. Her last name starts with a C. She's a medium detective, and she's been on TV, and she
Oh, I took a class from her. Holy Jesus, where's that? My certificate. Where's my certificate? Um, Pam Coronado.
Yes, so I
Yeah.
took a class from her.
Oh, me
So,
too.
super cool, right? So, I'm taking this class from her, and she did this exercise where she put up photos, and she said, "Try to tell if this person is living or deceased just based on the
Yes.
photo." And she went through a couple, and I got them all right, and I thought, "Oh, well, that's interesting." So, after I stayed after, and I said, "Hey, you know, I know a lot of people get this right, but could you just," and she goes, "Yeah, I got a whole bunch. I'll show you." We went through a list of like 15. I got them all right. And then I thought, well, that's really interesting. So then she's like, well, this is kind of how it starts sometimes for people. You start with one small thing and you sort of feel your way into it. And then I was in the hotel that night, and I'm from Illinois, and I'm watching TikTok, and across the Illinois news comes up that this woman is missing. They're looking for her, a grown woman. And I instantly knew, like I saw the picture. I'm like, oh, she's gone, you know? 2 days later, they found her and she was gone. And my friend was like, "Oh, this is so cool. You could work with the police." And I'm like, "But what g okay, you're gonna show me a picture," and I'm like, "They're alive," and they're like, "Great, where are they?" And I'm like, "Hell if I know." You know? Like, it's kind of, like, funny to me sometimes how things work. Like, it's not like in the movies where I'm like, "They're alive and they're here." I'm like, "They're alive. That's all I got." You
I
know?
keep looking. They'll show up here.
You know, and people are always like, "Oh, well, you should use it for this and that." And I'm like, "That's great if it worked like that." But
Yeah.
it doesn't work like that. And I think it's important for people to hear that it's learning to work with it. And sometimes it doesn't show up in the most convenient way, you know?
No.
What am I gonna do with that? I've had people send me pictures now, "Oh, is this person alive or dead?" And I don't like to answer them because there's no answer that I can give you that is gonna make you happy because I can't tell you where they are. So even if I tell you they are alive, what is that
Yeah.
gonna do for you? If I tell you they're gone, what is that gonna do for you? I can't tell you, I don't know. So it's
Yeah.
just important to remember that sometimes these things they show up and it's not always like, "Oh, this is a great superpower." It's like, "This is kinda weird, and I'm not
It's
sure I
like
like it," you know?
that was one of the first things that started happening to me when I started my awakening. I would look at photos and I would know where they were, or where they if they were dead, and where we might find the bodies, and I started. That was kind of my intro into psychic work. Was I joined a group where we helped find missing persons, and it's crazy, and it's crazy the energy that's involved, because people think it's as simple as, oh, where are they, but there are still contracts that are at play with it too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we've had many cases here. I live in Washington State, so we're mountainous, where people will will disappear in the mountains. So they'll send search and rescue. Search and rescue will walk right over where they end up finding the body
Right.
because he's vibrating right out of their frequency, or
Right.
vice versa, because they weren't meant to find him.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
and it's an intricate little web of
Yep. Yep. And it's so interesting how stuff works out. It's just weird.
yeah, it is. It's weird. It's fascinating.
It's
I
so weird
love
it
that you
has to
took
be
a
true.
class from her.
You know,
Huh?
it's one of those things, it's like, it's so weird it has to be true, because how would I even make that up? Like,
I
how
know.
who writes this stuff? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
Like,
I would suspect that there's something that will, how you said your abilities are starting to morph. So I would suspect that there may be something coming from
you
that new
know,
little gift.
I'm open for it. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. You know, it's one of those things, I'm excited if it shows up. I'm excited if it doesn't,
Yeah, yeah.
we'll see
Well,
how
that's
it goes.
cool. That was fun. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. That was cool. And I want more information on the Psy thing because that sounds
Oh, it
awesome.
was so incredible.
Sounds
Um,
like it.
yeah, it's called the Psy Games, PSI Games, and they
Yeah.
have already said they're gonna do it again next year. Do you know who Jordan Crowder is, the guy Alive and Kickin'?
No, but I feel like I should. Why don't I know that,
He's
Jordan?
fantastic. I got to meet him. Leslie Kean was there. Like, for anyone who's in the UFO world, like me, Leslie Kean was one of the journalists who broke the story in the New York Times in 2017 about the UFOs.
Oh,
She's that lady. She
oh,
also wrote the book about healing that turned into the documentary Heal, and she wrote the book about surviving death that turned into the documentary series Surviving Death. She was at
that
this
was
conference.
actually really good. If anybody wants,
It's fantastic, highly
it is.
recommend.
Yeah.
Leslie Kean is the one with the really curly hair and the glasses. So
Okay.
she's the author and she's a journalist. She was at these Psy Games, this year. I took a class from Sean Webb, who's the mind hacking your happiness guy. Like, there were some incredible people there.
In
Um,
Charlottesville.
it was in Charlottesville, yep. Clarissa
Okay.
Bledsoe was there, Emily Bledsoe was there, lots and lots of people.
Oh,
It
that's
was really incredible, and it was a great space to learn things, but they had a whole day of, like, games where people would be blindfolded on a stage, and they have a camera, like, down pointing down at the table, and they would have a box of colored discs with holes in them, and then a pegboard, and the pegs are different colors, and they were lining them up, and there was this woman that it took her 10 seconds to go through a box of 20 colored pegs, and she didn't miss a single one. And, I mean,
damn.
they had,
That's
um, they had a kid who is a non-speaker up,
yeah.
who
Okay.
did some of the most incredible. So everybody wrote a question down on a piece of paper when they walked in and put it in their pocket, and they said, "Keep it simple, nothing complicated," right?
Right.
It's a kid, something you'd
Yes.
ask a kid.
Yeah.
And then they would call on somebody randomly in the audience, and then the child would tell the answer to the question, and then they'd ask, "What was your question?" And it would match every time. So, for
Oh, wow.
example, they would call on a certain seat, the person stands up, the kid typed in their board the number 2, and they said, "What was your question?" And they hold up the piece of paper, "How many wheels does a bicycle have?"
Oh.
And that was incredible to see. I
Oh,
mean, it was
wow.
amazing the stuff that was going on there. So anyone who's interested in it, please check it out because it's gonna be really fun. It was sold out when I was there, so
Oh, well, it looks like they're doing one in Seattle, the 15th through the 7th. Well, I'm going to be gone, so frick.
next year.
This it doesn't give it. No, this year.
Oh,
Float
really?
conference 15 through 17, August 25. It's in Seattle, you guys. That's on roxiva.com. I don't know.
August 25th? Today's
Yeah.
the 27th.
August 15th through oh shit, sorry. I'm just kidding.
Time traveler,
Squirrel.
time traveler.
I totally want to do this next
It
year.
was so fun,
Did they
so
say
fun.
where they're going to do it?
They did not. They did not.
Okay.
And they didn't announce this one until just a few months before. So, sign up for their
Okay.
newsletter, you'll get all the stuff. But it was really, really fun. It was a great place to be.
It sounds like a blast and it sounds like it's and so I do blindfolded psychometry where when I'm doing my group events, I'll wear a blindfold and have people somebody will draw a ticket, they'll get to bring their object up and put it in my hand. And the amount of information that you get blindfolded, it's almost for me cheating because it heightens all the other
Yeah.
heightens all the other senses when you're blindfolded. So you start feeling everything. So
Right.
I mean, it looks like a fun parlor trick, but it's really cheating because I can get more information if I'm
I'm
not
s
looking.
I'm so interested in that. I would love to get better at that, and there's whole schools that teach this for kids.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, "I wanna go there," but then they interviewed the woman and they say, "Why do you choose this age?" And she said, "Because of the neuroplasticity, because they aren't so anchored in what they know to be true
Yeah.
that they can still be
Yeah.
changed a little bit and they can learn to use this other sense." And I'm like, "Daggone it."
Yeah.
But it's something that really has my attention. I absolutely
Yeah.
love that feeling of, like, remote viewing is something I'm
Oh,
very interested
yes.
in and all that
I
stuff.
have a group I'm on. I'll send you some information on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully one day I'll make it to the Monroe Institute. I'd love to go someday.
Yeah, I would too. That's my bucket list. I have a bucket list of some things that I would like to do too, but threw it up there.
Put it up there, right?
Manifest.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, so cool. All right. So we will close here. Thank you guys all for joining us
Absolutely, thank
on the
you.
conversation.
Uh, Melissa, I should get you on my podcast sometime.
I would love it.
We'll do a podcast episode. Check it out, you guys. Make sure you check out The Authentic Awakening. It's free, and there's several different teachers. There's a human design teacher, there's shadow work coaches, there's someone who does crystals, stuff with crystals. They're all bringing information for you for free on this platform, so please check it out
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Great way to expand your knowledge base too.
and meet
The,
some friends.
yeah, friends
Don't
you can talk
underestimate the
about this
value.
stuff with. Yeah, yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. Those are powerful. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close the live. Bye, guys.